I actually have a really big theory that Usopp might die. Now, keep this in mind, I'm on episode 555, and in order for me to start why I think he's gonna die, I think let's start in the very beginning of Usopp's journey. Usopp's journey really wanted to be the brave warrior of the sea, and the strongest warrior of the sea. Keep this in mind, this is very important, because in order for you to become the brave warrior of the sea, you have two options: become one of the most strongest people in the world and just being brave and just encounter a whole bunch of villains and whatever, or second option, face death. The reason why is because that's how you be known as being brave and being strong, right? But again, these two options are like very limited, right? And the problem is, throughout the entire 1,000 episodes, keep this in mind, Usopp hasn't been very strong. Now, pause 1 second. I know I'm only on episode 555, but at least, before the time skip or even after the time skip, you can also tell that he hasn't really became as strong as these other people, because these other people really destroys, what I'm saying, like crazy amount of people, but Usopp isn't really the strongest person. He's probably also the smartest person of the group, in my opinion, because he knows when to run. That's what I'm saying. But overall, when it comes with Usopp, Usopp hasn't really became very strong. Also, in Water 7, you can also kind of see a foreshadowing of his own death, in my opinion, and he practically states to Luffy, "Why am I here?" Right? First of all, he says, "I've been thinking about this for a while." Keep this in mind, every word that literally Oda quite literally puts in, it literally foreshadows later on. I'm not even kidding. I'm pretty sure they foreshadowed someone's death with a card. I swear to God and everything. So I'm not even kidding. So when it comes to analyzing One Piece, it does look like in Water 7 there was a little bit of foreshadowing how Usopp practically says, "Am I really this, why did you recruit me in the first place, right? What's the point of this, right? I am one of the most weakest person you could probably recruit. Why am I here?" Now, when I always read stuff like this or something like that, it could just mean one or two things. One, he's weak in the beginning and strong, like turning into Naruto and all the way to Baryon mode or something. Or a second thing is it's probably meant for him to kind of be gone, pretty much be a sacrifice for, I guess, Luffy or the crew for something out there. Now, keep this in mind, this theory would only work if he also meets Vivi. Vivi I'm pretty sure, in I think 30 episodes or something like that, they kind of meet, and he practically promises, says, "When I come back, I'm going to be the bravest warrior of the sea, and I'm going to tell you on a lot of adventures," right? It would make only sense if Vivi returns, let's say episode 700 or 800 for a short period of time, where Usopp quite literally goes ahead and tells her stories after stories. Now, the reason why this would make sense, only if she appears, again, I'm not 100% sure, but if she really does appear in One Piece, right, within let's say 700 or 800, that kind of shows that there is really, what I'm saying, his fulfillment is almost complete when it comes with his dream. Now, the second thing is Alphas. I still cannot say the arc's name, but also Alphas arc is a very important arc to also look out to, because keep this in mind, Usopp is finally reaching his dreams, and I'm actually well aware that he reached his dreams on there. The thing is, this whole sacrifice will not work at all unless he meets Vivi and Alphas. And ever since then, if he really does, sacrifice his life, then it really truly means he is a brave warrior of the sea. And another thing is, One Piece is also one of those shows where it's more of, hopes and dreams and literally accomplishing it. So I don't think Oda is going to go ahead and kill off, characters after characters without reaching that goal or something like that. I'm pretty sure besides Ace, but even then, when it comes with Oda, I don't really think the main characters is going to die off unless they reach their dreams. If that's the case when it comes with Usopp, that means Usopp is not only the first person to reach his dreams, but he will not probably see the One Piece at all. All he cares about, keep this in mind, is literally him becoming the brave warrior of the sea. I've also seen, literally edits of him crying after, or not crying, I'm pretty sure smiling after he sees his dream, Alphas, and all these amazing stuff that he sees. But again, keep this in mind. I'm going to repeat this throughout the entire video. This sacrifice cannot happen unless he meets Vivi. right? This is really big because keep this also in mind that, the entire Straw Hats is eventually going to dream, they're going to live in their dreams, right? Meaning they're going to actually achieve their dreams. So if that's the case, this literally means that, Usopp, if he really does, accomplish his dreams from the very beginning and the very first time, literally the very first person to ever, accomplish his dreams, this practically means Usopp probably may be a sacrifice later on. Now, I will say, I hope I don't really see Vivi, and later on in the future, let's say, like, he returns or something like that. I think it's just going to be very sad because if that's, like, actually true, this practically means he probably might die later on. Again, so I'm not entirely 100% sure because when it comes with One Piece, it's always literally, like, the smallest things. It will literally foreshadow something crazy. But I also do have one final reason why that he practically might also die later on. And it also kind of also foreshadows a little bit when it comes with, Thriller, right? Also keep this in mind, not Thriller, Sabaody, right? When it came with Sabaody, everyone was weak. But the person that really was weak was Ussopp. Ussopp was weakened out of all of them. I'm pretty sure he was like the first person ever to be weak. And like he couldn't even, shoot, one bomb into that one, guy, the giant robot guy, you know what I'm saying? That one bomb into that giant robot, he couldn't even do any single damage at all or whatsoever. And to be fair, at least some of the Straw Hats kind of had to stop him or something. But keep this in mind, when it came to that arc, it kind of showed to show how weak, Usopp can really be. But again, keep this in mind, the entire purpose of being a brave warrior of the sea isn't necessarily becoming the strongest person in the entire world like Luffy. It's literally practically sacrificing your life for something else. And it will have to be something huge. I will say we are seeing some crazy stuff later on in this arc. And some crazy stuff, I'm well aware, even with the robot and all these crazy stuff that we're seeing, we're practically going to see some crazy stuff later on in the series. But I think because of these crazy amount of stuff that we're going to see, I think this is going to have a huge impact when it came with Usopp and, what might happen to him later on. I mean, I'm also well aware that Nami defeated Zeus, so keep this in mind. If Nami can defeat Zeus, which again, she's one of the most weakest in my opinion, she's like the second weakest, imagine Usopp, right? Again, he couldn't really do very much, right? Now, I'm just saying this right now. Yes, he can do a lot, but what I'm saying is later on, I'm also going to have a huge theory that he's probably not going to be able to do very much because the enemies are actually a lot stronger than most people think. I think the only reason why Nami defeated Zeus because her immense power when it came with weather, but overall, that's pretty much kind of not like coincidence, but like fate. Let's go ahead and fight me off, and boom. You know what I'm saying? The end. But when it comes to Usopp, I do think that, again, later on, I do think that there is going to, be something out there where, he might be able to, sacrifice his life with. Now, another thing is, like I said, the entire thing is, he cannot at all whatsoever, practically do this unless he meets Vivi. But I will say this, there is one more thing that I do also have a theory for. I think in order for him to do something like this, he's also going to have a giant impact. So he's probably going to have a brand new weapon or something like this, or something where it comes in the Alphas because it looks like it's the land of giants, also looks like it's also the land of weapons and stuff like this. So imagine a lot of these arcs and a lot of these, stuff, just, what I'm saying? Kind of correlation to one another, and maybe just create just one giant weapon for Usopp, but eventually he could probably end up being really weak and just, goes ahead and just, again, sacrifices his life for, Luffy and the others. Which I'm not entirely 100% sure if my theory is correct or not. I'm just literally an idiot online. But overall, when it comes with One Piece, a lot of things can happen. Anything can happen. I mean, for Pete's sake, Ace's death literally shocked everyone. And I still, till this day, really think that even his death, I'm sorry to say, but his death really was an unnecessary death. It kind of felt very pointless. It kind of felt like, kill to kill. You know what I'm saying? It's just like dramatic effect just to change the character. But I feel like there was a different way to change, Luffy's character character and stuff like that. I'm not entirely 100% sure. I'm not a writer, but that's just literally my opinion. I really did feel like, Ace's death was just like there just to change, you know what I'm saying? But overall, we didn't even see Ace at all. But when it comes with Usopp, I think he's going to be a lot more meaningful and also a lot more unpredictable than most people actually really think, which is going to be kind of crazy. Also, I'm also well aware of the whole intro thing, how he stops walking. I think that's actually him probably staying inside the island. I also have a theory that he's probably gonna say to everyone, hey, this is my dream, I achieved it, I'm gonna stay here from now on. And I'm pretty sure Luffy's gonna be like, ha ha ha, okay, congratulations, like everyone else, you know what I'm saying? Like everyone else, you know what I'm saying? And everyone just smiles about, to him and just like, Usopp probably stays in the island for the rest of his life or something along the line like that. But I don't think, it's going to go according to plan because maybe there's some sort of danger or something like that. But overall, that part doesn't make sense because obviously Vivi and him returning. But you know what I'm saying? Overall, I really do think that there's going to be something huge happening with Usopp simply because I really, really think that in order for Usopp to become one of the most bravest warriors of the sea, the biggest line is, I'm gonna end this off like literally right here. In order for Usopp to literally pretty much sacrifice his life to end up being the great warrior of the sea, is he has to do two things: become the great warrior of the sea, and also go ahead and beat or not beat but get to Alphas, which he already did. But also a bonus one, he also needs to meet Vivi one last time. Now this time it could be on episode 700, 800. I can practically I'm like literally the more that I talk about this, the more that I really feel like they're gonna meet on like 700, 800, something like that, simply because I do think that Vivi is kind of meant to return and kind of just meant to, you know what I'm saying, kind of signal, hey, this might be a foreshadowing or something. But anyways, that's pretty much it. Anyways, let me know what you think about One Piece. Overall, I really practically enjoyed this anime. This is an amazing anime. Anyways, that's pretty much it, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.